been a while since I've just done a solo video. We've been working real hard at getting our Meat of the Matter podcast off the ground. We're about 8 episodes in. We are doing this live on YouTube, on this channel, and on Dutch Carnivore Sundays at 11, right now 11 a.m. Pacific time. It will be 10 a.m. when everything catches up, daylight savings. But this is Anthony Stewart. This is Food for Thought, and we're questioning everything they've ever said. It's been a while since I've done a solo video, and I'm going to talk about some stuff today regarding the microbiome. I've had a few conversations with some people specifically and recently about microbiome and what we're supposed to do. We get inundated with fiber, eat a balanced diet, colors of the rainbow, all that stuff, and I'm going to just offer some logic and some first principles that we might be overlooking and pulling the cart before the horse, if you will. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I have been studying this stuff extensively for a very long time, reversing countless health issues and helping people reclaim their health and heal with food. So microbiome, let's look at it. They tell us we need fiber. Well, let's look at it from a standpoint. Once again, these are my opinions. And these are just sort of practical things that I've noticed in the mainstream and throughout the people I've been helping. So the microbiome, yeah, we are bacteria. There's probably more bacteria in us than there is cells. So it is a very important thing, and it's probably underrated, if to say the least. But now, when we say fiber, do we need it? Well, it's not an essential nutrient. So there's never in our lives did we need fiber. There's been lots of studies telling us that we do, and yet probably the most important one, I'll try and post a link below, Paul Mason did about people with suffering from constipation. They did a control trial, and all of them got worse when they included more fiber. So when we're dealing with irritable bowel, Crohn's, colitis, diverticulosis, and diverticulitis. Well, what's going on down there? Well, we do have, an endothelial throughout our intestines, and the bacteria do cultivate, and our microbiome, things that we don't realize is our microbiome can change within 24 hours. That's kind of funny. If we look at pathogens and actually all life, just look at the modern day standard diet. Everything loves sugar. So if everything loves sugar and you're feeding your gut sugar, as above, so below, the micro to the macro, they feed on that stuff. And then that cultivates different strains. Now, one thing that we don't take in context is leaky gut. And where you're at will greatly be affected by this thing. If your gut is leaky, all the fiber, what's it bringing with it? When we're dealing with pesticides, herbicides, not to mention plant toxins, plant anti-nutrients, and, eating monocrop agriculture, at best, you're bringing a lot of glyphosate into your body. And is that corn, wheat, and soy, high fiber cereals, actually doing more harm? When we're dealing with chronic systemic inflammation, it does start in your gut. And some things to think about. Well, from what I've gathered and throughout my years of looking into this, there's been a lot of talk about the Weston A. Price theory, where indigenous people, the closer they are to their ancestral and their cultural diets, the healthier they are. And there's been a lot of talk about the tribes in Africa, like specifically the Maasai, who are pastoralists. They eat a lot of meat and milk and blood. And even though their diet is very narrow, I guess they do wood forage, gather stuff, but their diet, although very limited, they have, from what I've heard, the most diverse microbiome on the planet, which makes sense, because I believe that building or healing and getting your gut stability is the most important thing, because the stronger your gut is, the least amount you're going to be irritated by what's going down there. And, go figure, when you're just focusing on essential nutrients, essential amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, You are now looking at this from a healing, and you're getting the right building blocks to strengthen your gut. Now, a couple things to notice, like gluten sensitivity and celiac has been growing exponentially over the last decades. Why? Well, they've changed the wheat, and now we use this thing called dwarf wheat in North America that is super high gluten content, and it works with gliadin, and there's a whole other thing, but it's people don't realize that pretty much everybody is gluten sensitive. It's just how your body's reacting. Some people will be a lot more. And now, as you progress in your life, as you get older, and as you're doing more damage to your gut, it's going to become more and more apparent. Inflammation starts there. So when I'm helping people, we start with the foundations. We start by healing the gut. Now, there's things, Natasha Campbell McBride and the GAPS protocol is a great way to start. Meat stock. It starts with meat stock. It starts calming your gut down and cultivating good bacteria. Now, as you may know, I was studying to be a nutritionist, and I refused to get my degree because it was wrong. Now, I'm just going to give you an example of some things, and this is from my nutritional pathology textbook, and we'll get back to the irritable bowel syndrome. But if you look at all the pathologies that are in here, they recommend supplements. Probiotics is the first on the list. This is the pancreas, pancreatitis, supplements. I don't know if you can see that, but supplements, probiotics. Now, my biggest problem with my school was all these issues all had basically were the same treatment. High fiber, lots of green vegetables, and probiotics, not to mention other supplements. Every single pathology. Now, I ask this, what the hell did we do before we had probiotics? And when you're eating these probiotics in a pill or whatever, in a seed, it's got to go through your digestive system. Is that natural? I would argue it's probably not. Now, there's ways to increase your biodiversity, and if you're eating yogurt and fermented stuff, kefir, even some salamis and some cured fermented meats would arguably be beneficial, according to this. But yet, when they tell you the irritable bowel syndrome and they define it, they say, like, this is the diet recommendations. Avoid all gluten foods, which is wheat, rye, barley, corn, oats. Avoid foods that one is sensitive to. Now, that's pretty vague. How do you know you're sensitive to something? Well, I guess you'd have to start eliminating it. Avoid sugar, alcohol, artificial sweeteners, avoid coffee, tea, drink lots of pure water, increase fiber intake. Now, if you have irritable bowel syndrome and your gut is broken and your microbiome's all over the place, increasing the stuff that they feed on, and yes, they do. The bacteria feed on the fiber, and they create small chain fatty acids in the form of butyrate. Well, I would argue that just eat butter, because butter, butyrate. It makes some sense there, right? Avoid trans and hydrogenated fats. Very good advice. Decrease refined and simple carbohydrates. Alkalinize the diet. Well, our stomach is very acidic, so what does that mean? Ensure adequate, complete protein and include most from vegetable sources. That doesn't make any sense to me. Avoid pro-inflammatory foods. Well, what's causing the inflammation in the first place? Increase dark leafy vegetables and other chlorophyll-rich foods. They're not essential. And what else are they bringing to the table? And then it goes into supplements, probiotics, glutamine, digestive enzymes, B complex, high-quality multivitamin, antioxidants, including zinc, vitamin A, vitamin C, fish oil. Why don't you just eat meat? They tell you to eat adequate, complete protein, yet they're telling you from vegetable sources that's not complete. You're going to have to combine that. They're telling you to increase your dark green leafy vegetables. It's adding more bulk and possibly irritating that gut biome. So they're telling you For IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, to do all these things, but yet they're avoiding the fact you have to rest your bowels. So obviously, low inflammatory foods. Go figure what's the easiest food to digest. Yeah, sorry vegans, it's meat. And my movements are fantastic. I don't eat fiber. I haven't for a long time. So I do eat yogurt, and I do believe the microbiome is the thing, and it can shift within 24 hours. And if your microbiome can shift in 24 hours, you can heal. But what happens when you're not getting the essential amino acids, the stuff that builds your tissues, keeps your tight junctions together? Leaky gut. So where you're at would completely matter. Now, it tells you to eliminate corn, wheat, and soy, but yet it's telling you to increase your fiber. How does that make sense? So when you get into this, and you'll realize that high glycemic foods, specifically starches and grains, increase a protein that make a protein in your body called zonulin. That causes the tight junctions to get leaky. So you need to fix your leaky gut before you can build a diverse microbiome. This is my opinion. But if they're telling us to do all these things that are actually perpetuating the damage, keeping the damage going, wouldn't it make sense to scale it back, get real simple, focus on foundations, cut out all the foods that the bugs thrive on and flourish on, and start from the ground up? And that starts with essential nutrients, complete protein from meat, and the essential nutrients from fat. You do not need carbohydrates. Grains, especially in the modern day, not to mention all the soil degradation and all our soil's been destroyed. We're not getting the same nutrients anymore. It's not a coincidence that all these digestive, IBS, Crohn's, all those things are ramping up because they're damaging our gut. And then everything that's bad is getting into us, causing autoimmune and allergic and all these things. And they're all tied. And the funny thing is, I'm not going to promise, but if you scale it back, focus on exactly what your body needs and really focus on that. Start building, healing your gut. Then you kind of can get into what's making you feel good. And for all those people that don't understand the vagus nerve, the pneumogastric nerve that is attached to your gut, your lungs, your heart, your brain, it's the biggest, largest nerve in our body. Bacteria love it. It's got its own microbiome. And what is it in the spiritual community? Humming. Increases nitric oxide, nasal humming, also called vagal humming. So to get your vagus nerve active, try humming, try some breath work, and really focus on the foundations of your gut. Build a strong environment, a strong foundation, so that the good bacteria can flourish, and cut out all the stuff that the bad bacteria feed on, which is sugar. Stay strong.